Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spock Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. And we're going to get started with this week's Marvel books, kicking things off with the X-Men books, actually, starting with Excalibur number 18. Where we left off, Captain Britain, Betsy Braddock, was killed, seemingly, during the first match in Ten of Swords. By Iska the Unbeatable. Afterwards, however, the Captain Britain Corps was returned, and, well, Excalibur tried to see if maybe their Captain Britain was with the Corps. To no avail. However, it seems our Betsy did return on an alternate Earth, where Betsy's the Queen of England. And so that Betsy, with the help of that Earth's Quanon, returned to Earth. While at the same time, Kabanakaba was assaulting the lighthouse and trying to retake it until Betsy returned. But they were promptly shooed away by Betsy's return. So the issue begins in the Scarlet Citadel Otherworld. One of Saturnine's servants comes to her, offering her some tea. She's apparently been trying to rebuild or put together a puzzle, but it's not coming out the way she wants it to. And Rill, the servant, also brings a message from the Krakoans. And upon reading it, Saturnine promptly demands her quill pen. And we get a letter from the desk of the Omniversal Majestrix. With a little motto, consider the message, consider the time, consider many things before you bother Saturnine. To whom it may concern, thank you for your letter. The Omniversal Majestrix is hard at work ensuring the proper proceedings of Otherworld in her role as overseer of the otherworldly parliament and courts both foul and fair. Unfortunately, the Majestrix cannot meet with you this time, as the representative of your home reality cannot be identified. Representatives of home realities are determined by the presence of a Captain Britain, your officer to Otherworld. Ordinarily, we would ask you to submit your request to Captain Britain and have them submit your complaints at the next tribunal. Unfortunately, we have looked into the tomes and discovered that your reality currently lacks a Captain Britain. With that in mind, the Majestrix will not be able to hear your request until the matter is rectified. Best wishes and warmest regards, Opal Luna Saturnine, Court of the Omniversal Majestrix, Opal Luna Saturnine. So in the lighthouse, at the lighthouse, it's been a few weeks since Betsy's return, and Rogue and Prestige are watching from a distance. Rogue isn't entirely sure it's Betsy. Prestige assures her that Betsy's from this dimension. Remembers the lighthouse, Krakoa, everything. But Rogue says that she's afraid of Betsy. Betsy's one of her oldest friends, and Rogue's scared to death right now. And she can't tell what Betsy's thinking. So. But, Prestige says she can tell what Betsy's thinking, but Betsy deserves some privacy. Plus, she can be fairly inscrutable. Prestige ensures Rogue that things look normal in Betsy's head, normal for Betsy in Betsy's head. She sounds like Betsy. She has Betsy's memories. When they're a little quiet. Basically, it seems that Betsy's just depressed. However, Prestige just thinks that it's weird that Betsy just washed up on the shore a couple of days previously and been pretty quiet ever since. So, Prestige does have concerns. But on the plus side, it did get rid of the English Coven weirdos, so, you know. Rogue asks Prestige to dig a little more, but Prestige says, what am I going to find? She's back from a rough loss, with no magic spell or body swap that changes the way pain does. And Betsy actually hears about, actually adds that she'd rather, they didn't. And Prestige, she has to respect that. But she's going to give Rogue some, a little bit of psychic power, because Prestige can't sit there and psychically babysit all of them. So she's going to give Rogue a little psychic power for a few days. She does insist that Rogue behave with it. That people don't like when you go poking around their heads, and Rogue does remind Prestige she's done this before. Emma, however, shows up as well. Apparently, the rest of the team was trying to stall her. Her and Betsy have a quick psychic conversation, which becomes a verbal conversation. Before Betsy basically just shoos Emma away. But she's wanted to go take a hot bath. Emma's trying to ask what's wrong with Betsy, and proceeds to she grants some diagnostics, and that she thinks that what Betsy had, the problem with Betsy is that she's what you might call upset. But they've apparently the council has determined a path regarding the permanent nature of otherworld death. Either work with Saturnite to mitigate it or close the gate. Rogue volunteers to go talk to Saturnine. Saturnine doesn't frighten her. But Emma points out that, hey, well, she appreciates the offer, but she'll only talk to Captain Britain. But, hey, Betsy's back, so, But Emma's a little curious, why they'd hide that from the council. And Rogue just says, hey, she's a mess, Either it's not her, and she's glad that, and Rogue's glad she's keeping her away, or it is, and she really doesn't want everyone seeing her like that. But Emma says she won't force Betsy to do anything, but she does have a job to do, just like the rest of us, and, well, they can't be patient forever. As she heads out, she tells the team to remind Captain Britain to keep calm and carry on. And apparently she'll tell the council to expect Betsy within a few days. Inside the lighthouse, Maggie Braddock steps through the gate on accident, the Avalon gate on accident, and notices her Aunt Betsy. Goes back to tell her father. Of course, that gets Betsy to run off. But Brian comes through, a little mad actually. But the rest of the team does eventually kind of, hey, look, yeah, Betsy's back, but she kind of needs her time. But they discuss things, and it's kind of okay, maybe I'll talk to her. See, I'll try to talk to her. And Brian tries to talk to her, and tries again, but yeah. As he falls asleep, Betsy walks him through the gate. And returns to Avalon, and also psychically tags, decided to start a psychic game of tag with Rogue. So the team splits up. Rogue and Rick are going to go to Krakoa. Jubilee and Shogo are going to stay at the lighthouse, and Gambit's going to go talk to King Jamie, who swears he did not, that this Betsy that's running around was not made by him. On Krakoa, Richter picks up some of Apocalypse's magic related writings and whatnot, and he tries to explain it a little bit better to Rogue. Basically, the idea being it's all about powers working in tandem. And he uses a great example of look at the Five. Look at what they can do when they work together. In Castle Avalon, Remy discovers that King Jamie has Morgan Le Fay held prisoner, but he goes to show her something in a large Iron Maiden. Only the body he was keeping inside the Iron Maiden is gone. And it's heavily hinted that it is a shell of basically a Betsy husk. Richter then discovers basically a written history of mutant kind by in the Grove of Possibilities on Krakoa, written by Apocalypse. And he explains that Krakoa is their history, but they're not the end of anything. They're at the beginning of their history. Yeah, somebody will find that part of their history, and it will mean the world to them. But someone is watching. But Ricker also states that there's anything they should learn from Apocalypse is they aren't as far from the past as they want to believe. Also means they're scary close to the future, though. And the Watchers revealed to be none other than Captain Britain, who attacks, taking out Richter. And she actually does kind of manage to nearly take down Rogue until another psychic blade. She's attacked with another psychic blade from Psylocke. So it turns out that part of what was part of the wall of history, is basically Apocalypse's will, so to speak. With basically, since I'm leaving Krakoa, so just kind of letting everyone know, this is for, this is what I want done with all my stuff here. Now it goes for Richter. Adding in the place of his heart, where Richter's always seen a failure, there's instead a fault, a deep aching split in him that exposes the molten heat. Richter's always endured it, and it is what he's always known about. It was what Apocalypse has always known about him. The great secret of the powers of Earth are that he must have a spirit that can stand to the heat beneath. Much like how Cypher is the only one who can hear Krakoa's words, Richter's the only one who can hear her heartbeat. And that is where the issue ends. Now there was some discrepancies in the reading order. X-Force and Sword gave one reading order for this week, whereas Excalibur gives another. So I went ahead and went with the one that appears in multiple points. But moving on to X-Force number 17. While, there is a running... The important things to worry about... Xeno, run by a man with a peacock tattoo. Real big thorn in the side of Krakoa. Sent some assassins with skin grafts from Domino on them to kill Xavier, and actually did succeed for a moment. Tortured Domino, cloned her. And apparently the man with the peacock tattoo is also working with none other than none other than Mikhail Rasputin, the brother of Apocalypse. And he's in possession of the Cerebro Blade. So we go back over a lot of the deaths of Quentin Quire. Nano missile that tore him inside out. Unfortunate incident with a steamroller. Acid bath bomb. Mech grizzlies of the Commander Islands. Getting a sword shoved through his head. Getting eaten alive by spiders. Chucked through a gate out into space. Shot on a mission. Poisoned roses from the Church of Humanity. Shot into a jet engine. Dangled over lava. Apparently eaten by sea creatures, and yeah. But apparently, as he reflects on these, he says that today is not a good day to die because he's got a date with Phoebe Cuckoo. So a cruise ship's been put in for SOS. It's either a mistake or the Mayday claims that the cruise ship had been attacked for getting too close to Krakoa. It's not very Krakoan, but you know. The only member of X-Force on island was Quentin. Which Creed Omega is fine with. He is, after all, the Omega. He finds a bunch of dead bodies. He's reminding himself that he's the Omega. He's the Omega. As he investigates the scene, he realizes that he doesn't know what happened, but he knows it wasn't them. He does pick up a few sparks of life in the lower levels of the ship, and he goes to investigate. Finding a young girl and her teddy bear. Right before he dies. There's a logbook entry from Beast about a terror campaign being run by Xeno. Unsubstantiated reports of mutant aggression in his many days. The first comes from a propaganda feed name called Sapiens, has developed a significant following on social media. They recently posted a claim that they put mind control organics into all their medicines. The article has been shared tens of millions of times, including by politicians. The claim is, of course, false, though A, they cannot prove it as such without exposing their biotech, and B, they are certainly capable of such measures, but would consider it only in extreme circumstances. Beast, don't ever consider stuff like that. Dumbest smart guy on Krakoa, I swear. Then, the very founder of Sapiens, dedicated to anti-mutant politics and conspiracies, flung himself out a window. The news of this, announced and broadcast via Sapiens' website, accuses Krakoa of assassination in response to his investigation work. Then comes the mass murder of the cruise ship passengers, staged in such a way that its proximity to Krakoa and the profile of the attack itself, which appears at a glance to be a psionic event, implicates them. Conclusions that Beast makes are disinformation and distrust are their greatest enemies, civilian loss of life requires immediate response, and the characteristics align with previous Xeno campaigns. So, once again, Quentin comes to from being resurrected. Phoebe's there to meet him. He asks how he died this time. She doesn't know about that, but explains that he does keep losing time, so reminds him of some other times together. But he really does need to know how he dies. Explain, the blank spots between backups make him feel like he's not whole, and because it's a matter of national security. There's a resurrection report from the 5 Kid Omega bioediting proposal. Apparently, this is a common thing. Some samples from the history would be the point where he had his hair. He wanted his hair colored rose gold instead of pink. Then back to pink from rose gold. Eliminating hair follicles on his face at precise dimensions so as to avoid shaving. Eliminating hair follicles on the sides of his head at precise dimensions so as to avoid shaving. Eliminating hair follicles in armpits, back, chest, and groin at specific dimensions so as to avoid waxing. Adjusting eyes to secure 20/20 vision acuity, making glasses a mere accessory. And the Five added a note saying that Kid Omega is really annoying. They need to put forward a resolution to the professor that overrides some of X Force's power regarding resurrection protocols. Cosmetic changes are more than absurd. They are slowing down the Five. So Quentin and Phoebe go to Metro General. Quentin wants to see the survivors. Apparently, the three survivors on the ship, each claim were attacked by a mutant. One claims to have been attacked by Wolverine. While the memory checks out, the spacing of the claws is off by several centimeters, and at the time of the attack, Logan's whereabouts were accounted for in Madripoor, presumably during his rescue while he and Maverick were trying to get out of there. Then there was a young woman who believes that Colossus shoved his thumbs into her eyes, blinding her. But the gateway logs revealed that Colossus was in the Savage Land, harvesting. And there was a child. Hadn't spoken since they found her. It's in a deep shock. Apparently, Quentin's the one that attacked her. And Phoebe states that they all carry sonic scars, and Quentin's fingerprints are all over their minds. They talk some, and she mentions that by piggybacking into Healer, she was able to examine Quentin's corpse in the healing gardens before it was composted. It's noted that Quentin's head was missing, torn off and never recovered. But a body was filled with glutamate, the chemical of fear. But she tells him that he shouldn't hate himself or even part of himself. And that's what's holding him back and making him more kid than Omega. And then Phoebe adds there's a part of his mind he's never let her see, never let anyone see. And she asks what's locked in there. So he manifests a key and sticks it in his eye, and he's telling there's a difference between forgetting and not remembering. He always knew he was adopted. He just chose not to remember. Because his biological parents treated him the way that the kids at school would later treat him, as weak, as a victim. Well, then his powers manifested, and, he became an orphan. The two of them walk through New York. She insists that he's sweet as a strawberry. But they go to meet with Jumbo Carnation, who's going to help Quentin come up with a new look. Something more Omega than Kid. And so we get a montage of various looks. Post-apocalyptic, a pink bodysuit with some wraparound sunglasses and Omega on the chest. A purple-tinted version of Cable's costume. Glob's look, including the lack of clothing. The Kid Omega variation of Gladiator's outfit, Wolverine's outfit, and then finally, however, we get it. A black bodysuit with purple or pink highlights. And Jumbo has to make some adjustments, and this one he'll be back in a flash. However, then Phoebe and Quentin hear Jumbo scream. Apparently, someone has taken over his mind, and he comes at them with a pair of shears. Elsewhere, the man with the peacock tattoo simply says that someone is getting stronger, and soon they'll be ready for what's next. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our next title of the week, Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood, number 3. It was supposed to come out last month, but, hey, things happen. I wish it had come out last month because I would have loved to have gotten to read it last month. But hey, At least I get to read it, you know? It's little things. So we've got 3 stories, just like with the previous 2 issues. First, we have 32 Warriors and a Broken Heart, written by John Ridley and drawn by cover artist Jorge Fornes. Wolverine explains he's nearly immortal, his life's pretty much eternal, and this is etched on the back of an Ouroboros. He's remembering a fight with Silver Samurai. And explains he'll fight him, 5 months from now, maybe a year from now. Just like he fought him a year ago. It's all very much the same, except for the way it's so very different. Explains this time he's fighting Silver Samurai for his daughter Amiko. And Amiko her history is explained. So this is actually a major point for Wolverine's past. One time in Japan, the X-Men fought a giant dragon, and building collapsed, and Wolverine tried to save a woman inside of it. But the woman died, and with her dying breath, asked that Wolverine take care of her child. And so Wolverine raised Amiko. So Wolverine, who at the time was engaged to Mariko Yoshida, asked Mariko to help him fulfill the promise. And they'll raise Amiko as their own. But Wolverine was occupied with the X-Men. Mariko had her own life, so they sent Amiko to a boarding school in Yamaguchi. At school, Amiko was surrounded by teachers and tutors and people to look after her. She had everything except a family. But Silver Samurai kidnapped her and explained that Wolverine and Mariko must face Silver Samurai and his 32 warriors. So first, 13 ninjas, then 10 Ronin, then 6 Soi, and 2 samurai. Now, to make sure we got the count right, we've got 13 ninja, plus 10 Ronin, so that's 23, 6 Soi, so that's 29, and 2 samurai, that's 31. So then, the 2 of them fought Silver Samurai. Well, mostly Logan fought Silver Samurai and defeated him. But they realized, wait a minute, we've only fought 31. Where's the 32nd? The 32nd turned out to be Amiko, who came out blade in hand, raging for a long moment how Mariko and Logan called her family but had abandoned her. Speaking in a pained voice about how she'd heard stories of the Wolverine literally fighting gods and monsters, and yet he had no time to do the one thing that truly makes a man, being a father to his child. And Wolverine, he would have said that Silver Samurai's plan was to brainwash Mika, turn her against him. Maybe to a degree, he even had. But every word Amiko spoke was true. And that couldn't have hurt Logan more, and she couldn't have hurt Logan any more than she tried. And then she tried. And so Wolverine sheaths his claws, and Amiko runs him through. Realizes, and kind of stands there noting what she's done, and realizes that Amiko realized that while she's just fighting her anger, she was wrong to hate, because hate does nothing. Hate earns nothing and leaves behind no satisfaction, only guilt. However, of course, Wolverine survived because, Wolverine, healing factor. It is explained, however, that when Amiko stabbed him, she did nick his heart. And the heart is a little slow to heal for Logan, so he decides he's going to take his recovery with his family. Next up, we've got Burn by Donny Cates and Chris Bachalo. Wolverine's in a bar. It's explained this happened a few years back. Some random bar is about to be destroyed. Well, and who should sit down next to him? Frank Castle, the Punisher. Well, actually, no. Formerly known as the Punisher. This is Frank Castle from the far-flung future. This is Frank Castle, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Wolverine explains that Frank smells like hate, vengeance, and hot dogs. The hot dogs part is the Ghost Rider flame. So yeah, that'd do it. So they talk about it, but basically it turns out that there was a point where these poker nights, they'd have these poker nights. Frank, Logan, The Thing, Gambit, some others. And there was this story that Logan used to tell about an epic fight at this bar that night. So Frank thought, hell with it. As long as he's jumping through time, may as well check the fight out. And Logan's like, what are you talking about? I don't smell him coming. And then Juggernaut slams through the wall and knocks Wolverine on his ass. And Logan says, hey, Frank, you can join in if you want. And Frank's just like, yeah, it's not my story, so yeah, it's your fight. Go for it. And after a while, the fight goes very much not the way the story went, and Frank realizes maybe he messed the whole story up just by being here, and he probably did, actually. So he Ghost Riders up and attacks Juggernaut. Apparently his chains are made from the bones of Satorak. But yeah, the two of them managed to knock down Juggy, and Frank basically says, when you tell the story, he starts telling, feel free to leave out the part where, I helped at all. And Logan says, hey, I took his ass down single-handed. No problem. But he figures, and Logan kind of says, in the future, could I ask? And Frank's like, nope, don't do that. I don't do that. But Logan says, no. I don't care how he died or anything like that. Figures it'll be bad either way. He just wants to know if it ever gets better. And Frank thinks for a moment and says no, but Logan gets better at it being bad, and he adds that you get a chance to burn out and fade away, burn, baby. And that is where the story ends, which brings us to our final tale, Red Planet Blues, which begins with Magic bringing Wolverine and his X-Force Black and Grays to Mars. The garden that was made, specifically the garden made during Jonathan Hickman's run on Avengers. Magic's not impressed. And Wolverine, like kids these days, you're jaded, all of you. And when he was her age, he'd have killed to go to Mars. But she says that she does retort by stating that at the age that Logan was playing with toy soldiers, she was being educated in torment and sorcery by demons. So how can Mars compare to the horrors and beauty of Limbo? And Logan just calls her the girl who has everything. But she asks if Logan needs her help, and no, he's got it. Which is good, because Magic's a busy woman. She is very popular. But she says she'll return in 30 minutes, and that he shouldn't be late, and she also has to bring her back a present. So it's explained that, this is a green jungle on a red planet, a garden created by alien gods still littered with their toys, and their weapons, like origin bombs, forced evolution accelerants, cause enough chaos and death when one of those alien gods firing them off. When you got mere mortals fiddling with them for maximum destruction, like leaving hand grenades around the house when you got a toddler. This group in particular is a quartet called MAME, Martian Advanced Idea Mechanics, a splinter group of AIM who ratted the prodigal sons out to Logan, abandoning Earth for Mars to start some wacko new society. Which normally he wouldn't really mind, but they're messing with the Gardener's tech and going along to strike on Earth, so yeah, he's going to sort it all out. But he wonders why they're attacking Earth when they have a perfectly good whole new world to be crazy in. When he's attacked by a robot. To be perfectly honest, a Death's Head robot. That the same kind of Death's Head robots that were utilized in the Hulk's invasion of Earth during World War Hulk. And it's decided that their new society will be dedicated to the blood of Wolverine, and he can be the champagne they break upon their new world. Apparently, Wolverine is assaulted by the fact that they sent a robot against him. And they explain he's a Death's Head, aimed designed from another dimension, brought to Earth by the Hulk during his invasion. And the Wolverine's like, hey, you know how many robots I've carved up over the years? I mean, it's one of the things I'm really good at. But then the Death's Head fires lasers out of its eyes, destroying Wolverine's eyes, and one of the MAME scientists asks if Wolverine can rip apart a robot while he's blind. Turns out Death's Head has got some highly advanced stealth system. Can't sniff it out, can't hear it coming for him. His eyes will grow back, but he doesn't get a lucky punch in. This Death's Head's going to take him apart before they do. And eventually, while one of the MAME scientists is going over their plan, Wolverine gets his lucky shot in, slicing the Death's Head pretty much in half, and without the benefit of functioning eyes. And there's like, wait, how did you? But he explains that the stealth system on it is really good. He tips down and spits out silence. However, the guy from MAME had to keep on talking, and when the robot was between Wolverine and the scientist, Wolverine couldn't hear the guy talking. So now he knew where the robot was, and so he asked, you got Mars all to yourself. Why are you trying to kill the Earth? And there's like, we had to. We had to be the only ones left. And later, Magic comes to pick him up and asks if Logan had fun, and he chucks her one of the AIM helmets. It was torn off of an AIM uniform, and it's her present. It's limited edition, 1 of 4. And Logan said, the X-Men ought to move out there. All the mutants have a place of their own. But then Magic's like, who would they expect to ferry everyone to Mars day in and day out? Her, of course. If she's not busy enough. And so they're like, yeah, you're probably right. And the two of them head back to Krakoa. And that is where the issue ends. So we move on from this week's X books that are not related to certain Venom-centric events to this week's miscellaneous Marvel book. Started with Morbius, Bond of Blood. So Michael Morbius, the living vampire, afflicted with a rare blood disease, basically became a doctor specialized, a hematologist, to cure his rare blood disease. Turned himself into a living vampire instead. Spider-Man's blood has somewhat helped him in the past. His recent ongoing was prematurely canceled mid-story arc. But yeah, so he wakes from the night to deal with his bloodlust, stops a mugging, drinks the blood of the mugger. Then we flash back to his origin, the rare blood disease, experimental cure goes wrong, turns Michael into a vampire, and helping him is his best friend, Emil Nikos. While checking on Michael after the accident, however, Morbius accidentally kills Emil and tries to drown himself in the sea, but yeah, no, he survives. Makes his way to America. Turns out that Emil had a son, Christos. Christos has a has a different blood disease and is dying of it. Viral platelet syndrome. And as Morbius overhears from some of the doctors, and one of the doctors states that Mr. Hyde, Calvin Zabo, was supposedly near a breakthrough on it. So, Morbius thinks back upon the time he was in New York before becoming the living vampire, and he met Calvin Zabo, and Zabo showed his fellow scientists his secret lab where he can do things without worrying about regulations and whatnot. He goes there, finds Zabo, and explains, "Hey, don't worry. I know we're kind of on opposite sides here, but I'm not here to fight. I just want, I hear that you're you're working on a cure for viral platelet syndrome. I need it. There's a young boy who, there's a 14-year-old boy who needs it." And so Zawa says, "Okay, that's fine, but you got to get me my my notes and whatnot for my Mr. Hyde serum from Ravencroft." And reluctantly, Morbius agrees. So he breaks into Ravencroft, gets the files, has to fight his way out, of course, but returns to Zabo, gives Zabo the files, and Zabo gives him the cure. So Michael injects the cure in Christos, and while doing so, also explains that he's actually the one that killed his father. It wasn't a natural death, as Christos has been led to believe. However, the cure doesn't work, and Christos dies. Enraged, Morbius goes back to confront Hyde, and confronts him during a bank robbery. They fight, and Hyde gets a hold of Morbius, capturing a bear hug, and well, Morbius bites Hyde and gets stronger and gets bigger and stronger from it, and basically takes Hyde down, and eventually Hyde's serum wears off and he turns back and reverts to Zabo. And so he asks, so Morbius asks, why give me a serum that, was not perfected? If you knew the boy would die, why give it to him? And Zabo simply says, I knew you were desperate, and I just wanted to become Hyde again. The child's life meant nothing to me. Being Hyde is my addiction, just like drinking blood is yours, man. And we're the same. We must have survived before he passes out. And Morbius leaves the unconscious body of him there, and days later at Calvary Cemetery, Michael goes to visit the graves of both Emil and Christos Nikos. So he will think of them often as he often thinks of his departed father. He hopes they both rest in peace, as he never will. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to the last book of the video, Taskmaster, number 3. Where we left off, Taskmaster had been accused. It was believed that Taskmaster had murdered none other than Maria Hill, retired S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And because of this, Black Widow was now on his trail. Which, well, yeah, that's, nobody wants Black Widow on their trail. Nobody wants her on their... She's one of the best assassins there is. But Nick Fury's rescued Tasky and kind of said, hey, I know you didn't kill Maria Hill, but I want to find out who did, and I figure the best way to do it is to look into what she was working on. Something called the Rubicon Trigger. requires kinetic signatures from 3 people to open up. Phil Coulson, Okoye, and the director of South Korea's NIS Tiger Division, Amy Han, aka the White Fox. So, Taskmaster's already gone off. He was in close enough proximity, and he was able to watch Coulson enough to get it to be able to copy his kinetic signature. But he had to fight Hyperion, and it was very much a Batman versus Superman kind of fight. But the way that a lot of people kind of say a Batman versus Superman fight should go, wherein Batman just gets the holy hell beat out of him until he finally says, "Okay, hell with it, Kryptonite, bitch," and then he beats the hell out of Superman. But yeah, so in Seoul, an apocalyptic terror cult is being injected with gene therapy. So the strength of 10 men, bulletproof skin, the works. And he sold it to this cult, and then he shrinks and escapes as Taguchi of Tiger Division attacks. And the cult realizes they don't have super strength at all. But it turns out that Taskmaster has a bootleg Pym rig and has shrunk down and is hanging off of Taguchi. But so going back to Ramson Mountain, which is the base of operations for Tiger Division. Taguchi meets with the Director Han, exactly who Taskmaster needed, and as he's listening, we get a little bit about his standards, so to speak. Like there's something off about Han. Her movements, taking her gestures, it's like she's a super. She's pretending to be human, but she's definitely not. And he kind of, but that's how this is. Nothing's what it seems. The whole thing stinks. Hill's murder, the widow coming after him, Fury pressing him into his crusade. You don't work for crazy people as long as he had without learning how to feel out when you're being played. That's why he instituted a strict no Nazis business policy. Cushy job from Baron Zemo inevitably turns into the Punisher running you over with a truck. And nobody needs that kind of grief. We get a picture of Taskmaster holding up a beaten up Frank Castle selfie with a sign saying "No longer accepting Nazi customers." But yeah, someone is playing him. They've gotten whoever they are. They've got Widow drunk on a blood rage, Fury hiding his grief and devotion to the mission. Someone's playing all of them, and he hates it. But he doesn't know what Han's shtick is. His physiology, senses too, probably. I mean, it seems like he almost clocked him when he jumped off of Taguchi. So he's going to be quiet. But then the Pym rig pops up saying that the mathematician is unstable, and it starts beeping, and so Taguchi fires a blast of heat vision into the vent. But yeah, Taskmaster is able to escape it, and as he falls out of a vent, the mass reduction wears off, and he comes back to full size, and he's now faced with the White Fox. He says, "Hey, I'm having a day. I have no idea who you are. So how about I just beat you down right now, and you just let me go on my way. But, well, White Fox says that he ain't going nowhere. And so she, he points out, she's got some nice moves. She's quick, and as she's too quick. And there's no way she moves, it's tickling his memory. But he says, all right, we could have done it nice. Now, he has to do it nasty. So, he hits her with that punch he saw one time. Then that kick Iron Fist uses. And then that throw that Cap used to toss him out a window. And that stomp that he saw Shang-Chi do. And he adds that he wishes he knew all the cool names for these moves. And then he realizes how he recognizes her moves. She's Director Han. Which shocks White Fox that he knows. However, before he can explain how he knows, Black Widow shows up, explaining that Taskmaster's hers and she's taking him. And his reaction is basically, oh, no, and thinking himself that he's dead. White Fox and Widow argue over jurisdiction, and well, time for the failsafe. Turns out that the gene treatment that the post-apocalyptic cult that got dosed with or was using did do something. It didn't give him super strength or bulletproof skin, but it did basically turn him into sonic suitcase nukes. Strong enough to blank everyone in the building out for a minute or two. Unless you have, let's say, purpose-made psychic baffles built into your skull mask. So Widow falls unconscious, and Taskmaster looks at her and realizes he can kill her right now. And she off the trail for good. And you can tell Fury to go hang and he have his life back. Forget about Maria Hill and whatever that was all about. All he'd have to do is take 2 steps toward the Black Widow, 2 little steps. And he says, "But what if she wakes up before he gets there? I mean, he's seen her die before. What if she comes back?" And she kind of just, she does kind of moan a little, and he's like, "Yeah, no, So he carves into a wall, "I didn't kill Maria Hill." And basically runs to make his escape, saying, Coulson and Han, 2 out of 3 down. Now, on to Wakanda. And that is where the issue ends. That's to be it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.